In Northern Ireland, longtime enemies join together in a power-sharing government.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin is in the hospital again as Russian troops step up their assault on Chechnya's capital.
And in Seattle, Washington, a security scare on the eve of world trade talks. From CNN in Washington, this is WorldView. I'm Judy Woodruff.
And I'm Bernard Shaw. In Northern Ireland, Protestant and Roman Catholic leaders set aside 30 years of strife Monday, forming a joint government. CNN's Nick Robertson is in Belfast.
Together in their assembly chambers for the first time, Northern Ireland's new government began the first of many debates on the future of their province.
Was offered, accepted and carried out.
Often heated, the verbal sparring that is now replacing the terrorism of the past is, according to many, giving them a chance to start afresh.
What we now have is the possibility that we all can pursue our different and opposite and opposing political goals in partnership as equals in mutual respect and in toleration.
But for some, accepting they must now work with politicians who have in the past been jailed for terrorist offences is difficult.
And today we shall see what most people, even just a few short months ago, would have believed unthinkable. The seating of those who have terrorised this community.
Despite the differences, debate did progress and key ministerial jobs were allocated.
I select the Enterprise, Trade and Investment portfolio. I nominate Martin McGuinness as Minister for Education.
However, their stated common purpose to give Northern Ireland's people a better future is hardly reflected in some of the divergent political outlooks.
And our goal remains the establishment of a united, free and independent Ireland. We believe that the Good Friday Agreement is a transitional structure that will allow us to achieve that legitimate objective.
We will never rest until we rid this country of IRA, Sinn Féin and all other brands of terrorism. They have no place in any democracy.
But despite the political differences, enough middle ground was found today for most of the points of order set out for the day to be accomplished. Bernie.
Nick, what are the problems still facing Northern Ireland and the new Executive Assembly?
Well, one of the biggest problems will be political differences and differences in their goals, what they would like to achieve. But one of the greatest hurdles that will have to be crossed in the coming weeks and months is that of decommissioning, the handing in of paramilitary weapons. That is at the top of the agenda of the unionist parties. They want to see the IRA hand in weapons by February next year. That will be one of the biggest hurdles here yet to cross in Northern Ireland. Bernie.
Nick Robertson, thanks very much. In Belfast, and now we take you live to the White House, where former United States Senator George Mitchell, a key negotiator in those peace talks in the agreement Nick just reported on, is talking to reporters.
North and South, many of whom had asked me to do so because they recognized that his commitment meant a lot to the process there. And so we had a good general discussion.
So are you concerned that the decision of the Ulster Unionist Council on Saturday may be conditional, that they may be prepared to collapse this executive in February if there is no decommissioning?
Well, of course, one can outline any number of scenarios for failure. And as you know from your experience there is no shortage of persons who predict failure on a regular basis in Northern Ireland. I prefer not to speculate on failure. Had I adopted the attitude of failure, I would have left after the first day of the review and after almost every day thereafter. I think you have to plan for, work for, and have a will to succeed. I believe that there will be full implementation of all of the provisions of the Good Friday Agreement, and I think it's essential that there be full implementation. Decommissioning is an essential part of the process that has been recognized and stated by all concerned. But it is not the only part of the process. There's much else in the agreement that's important, and I think it's all going to be implemented.
So how do you think you'll feel personally on Thursday when those devolved powers are actually handed over to that executive?
I will feel very good. I've now been nearly 5 years involved in Northern Ireland, and I've come to know and to admire and to very much like the people there.
Former federal judge and U.S. Senator George Mitchell talking to reporters at the White House, a key mediator in the peace accords. Judy?
Russian President Boris Yeltsin was rushed to a Moscow hospital Monday. Kremlin officials say he will remain there for at least a week. CNN's Matthew Chance reports.
In hospital again, the health of Boris Yeltsin appears to have taken another turn for the worse. This time, doctors say they suspect pneumonia, a condition that's plagued Russia's ailing president several times in the past. Pictures of President Yeltsin appeared on Russian television only hours before he was rushed to hospital. There was no sound on the images, but local television reporters said he was meeting a top aide to discuss Russia's ongoing conflict in Chechnya. The president had already been confined to his home outside Moscow after it was announced last week that he was suffering from acute bronchitis and a viral infection. Kremlin officials tell CNN the president had refused medicine and was insisting on what he called home remedies. Once an energetic politician with an aggressive style, President Yeltsin, who's now 68, has seen his health slip away in recent years. After his re-election in 1996, he underwent extensive heart surgery. It was later revealed he'd suffered at least 2 heart attacks during the election campaign. It was on a visit to Uzbekistan in 1998 that the world saw just how far Boris Yeltsin had declined. The trip was cut short and the president returned to Moscow. But in recent weeks, President Yeltsin has appeared in buoyant mood, marching into a European security summit and vigorously defending Russian policy in Chechnya in the face of international criticism. That sturdy health, though, has been short-lived. The Russian public has, over recent years, grown accustomed to its ailing president. There's little alarm anymore at his poor health. But running this country is increasingly beyond the capabilities of its president and is more and more being left to its Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin, and those around him. Matthew Chance, CNN, Moscow.
The head of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe in Moscow Monday is calling for Russia to end its offensive in Chechnya. But the Kremlin insists Chechnya is an internal Russian matter. Knut Vollebæk, Norway's foreign minister and chairman of the OSCE, wants a first-hand look at the fighting. Last week, Russia agreed to allow a monitoring mission, but so far has not set a date for a visit.
Russian officials are warning civilians in Chechnya's capital to get out while there's still time. Russian warplanes are dropping leaflets on Grozny, offering residents a safe corridor out of the city. At the same time, heavy attacks on Grozny continue. CNN's Steve Harrigan reports.
Russian attack helicopters on the way to Chechnya fly just meters off the ground to reduce the chance of being hit by anti-aircraft missiles. Tanks, armored personnel carriers, massive forces are being gathered in the frozen hills around the Chechen capital. Russian generals say within the next 2 weeks, the city will be surrounded. We have all the force we need, he says, to resolve any problem that faces us. The main problem after 9 weeks of fighting is how to take Grozny without incurring high Russian losses. So far, air power has not been enough to drive out the rebels. By the general's timetable, the rebels should be scattered by the end of the year. But in the hills around Grozny, the Russian army is preparing for a long siege. And despite Western pressure to end the campaign, the Russian generals say they are in no hurry. There will be no storming of Grozny in the classical sense, he says. There is no reason for us to do it now. So far, no agreement has been reached on a corridor to allow any remaining civilians to leave the city. The question of how many rebel fighters remain in the capital drew a laugh from the Russian commander. I don't know how many there are, he says. I haven't counted them. We'll count them when it's over. Steve Harrigan, CNN, near Grozny, Chechnya.
NATO peacekeepers are condemning an attack in Pristina, Kosovo that killed a Serb man and injured 2 Serb women. Hundreds of ethnic Albanians looked on while a mob attacked the 3 during a celebration of Kosovo's Flag Day. NATO's commanding general is asking witnesses to come forward. Here in the United States, some 50,000 protesters are gathering in the state of Washington for what they are calling the Battle in Seattle. Seattle is the site of a World Trade Organization conference bringing together ministers from 135 nations. CNN's Greg Lefebvre is in Seattle. Greg?
Hello, Judy. Well, this was an interesting day. Seattle has put out the wet carpet for the protesters today, and as you say, tens of thousands are anticipated here. And of course, there are thousands inside the conference as well. But you know, the conference almost did not get started at all this morning. Overnight, police detected an attempted break-in at the convention center where the conference was to be held, and so they declared a lockdown, kept everybody outside for 4 hours while the SWAT team surveyed the situation inside. And after about 4 hours, decided that it was safe for the other folks to go in, and the conference resumed more than 4 hours late. Today was going to be a very important day between the World Trade Organization and what they call non-government organizations, that is, the other people who are on the periphery of this organization. Many of those meetings were lost today because of that. Before dawn, one of the sets of the protesters, actually a set of protesters, 5 of them from the Rainforest Action Network, scaled a huge construction crane on the north end of Seattle's downtown. They unfurled a banner that indicated that the WTO is not good for democracy, that it actually seems to go the other way. Here in downtown Seattle, there will be a religious teach-in at the church behind me tonight, and then a march for forgiveness of third world debt. We will see a number of these sorts of marches later on this week. Judy, back to you in New York, in Washington, excuse me.
All right, Greg Lefebvre in Washington. I'm in Washington, you're in Seattle. Thanks. Bernie.
The goal of the World Trade Organization is to launch a new round of global trade talks, reducing taxes on imports and other trade barriers. But there's a lot of disagreement about how to do it. Agriculture is likely to be the most contentious issue. Countries in Europe and Japan argue that activities ranging from family farmer to winemaking have a cultural aspect and merit government subsidies. The United States says they should not be protected. Labor is another major issue. Union workers view global trade liberalization as a threat to their jobs. Now, let's find out what's ahead on the Moneyline News Hour at the bottom of the hour.
Here are Stuart Varney and Will Obey with a preview.
Tonight on Moneyline, the falling dollar and rising bond yields knock Wall Street off its feet, sending blue chips and the Nasdaq tumbling.
Also tonight, the spending binge that launched the holiday shopping season. It's retail versus e-tail, and everyone is winning.
And the White House clears the way for satellite television to bring you local programs just like cable. Could this be the start of a brand new fight for your TV screen? Plus, more on the battle in Seattle on Moneyline, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
Now back to Bernie and Judy and Worldview.
Thank you both. And ahead on Worldview.
3 years of waiting ends for the family of an Egyptian dissident jailed in the United States.
Hippie the tie-dye bunny, beanie baby, pass the pigs, hairy hairball, Pokemon, or triple threat Spider-Man. Musical, wacky, stick, electronic, drumsticks, rainbow fish, polyester purse, crystal moon lamp, and Neanderthal cranium replica. Amazon.com has all the toys a kid could need, like a Star Wars yo-yo and magnetic whale art.
Welcome to egghead.com. Going sideways. Folks, this is the Cybervator. It guides you through the computer store inside your computer. 11th floor, where the biggest computer brands are always on sale. Virtually speaking. Going diagonal, auctions hard to find items, and the Love Lounge? Oops, someone's mouse is wandering. Egghead.com, the computer store inside your computer.
My father started the Mettmann Manufacturing Company in 1942. Since then, the Mettmann name has become synonymous with ill-conceived products that carry the risk of serious physical injury. But we have made a little progress. We just signed up for this great service called stamps.com. It lets you print your postage straight from your printer, and it's actually legal. It really comes in handy for all our recall notices. Get well cards and flowers for the families.
There are over 800,000 job openings
for internet specialists right now.
3 million more in the next 5 years. By the time I'm 18, over 1 billion jobs will require internet skills.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Virtually all internet traffic travels across the systems of one company, the same one sponsoring thousands of networking academies. Cisco Systems, empowering the internet generation.
We ready? Are you?
As you might expect, Keller and I don't see eye to eye on investing. I like to avoid risk. Keller's a little more daring. We do, however, share the same new way to trade online.
Introducing PowerStreet by Fidelity, the first site with trading tools customized by Lycos to fit your unique way of doing things.
Look, the market's up, or in your case, down.
PowerStreet Online Trading. To find out how you could win free trades for life, visit Fidelity.com.
Turning now to the case of an Egyptian dissident jailed in the United States for more than 3 years. U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno has decided not to try to keep Nasser Ahmed in custody. CNN's Gary Tuchman joins us by phone from the lobby of the New York Metropolitan Correctional Center. Gary?
Well, Bernie, an alleged associate of convicted terrorist Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman has been freed from jail after being held for over 3.5 years on secret charges. Nasser Ahmad had not been charged with a serious crime, but was being incarcerated in New York City on charges that could not be revealed for national security reasons, according to the U.S. government. But about an hour and a quarter ago, as a CNN camera waited in his lawyer's office, Nasser Ahmad's joyous wife and children got the word that Attorney General Janet Reno had decided to release the Egyptian dissident from jail. A judge had already made such a ruling, which was appealed by the Immigration and Naturalization Service. Following the appeal, the Attorney General had to make the decision, which she now has. Nasser Ahmad, according to some of the secret charges that have been released, was alleged to have attempted to have sent a bomb manual overseas and allegedly said he was a member of a terrorist group. His attorneys have denied all those allegations. So why is secret evidence allowed in the United States? Well, the U.S. Immigration Service claims regulations allow judges to consider secret evidence in investigation of suspected terrorism and threats to national security. A lawyer working on this case says this should not be allowed in the United States.
I find it shocking that in the United States of America in 1999, people can be locked up for years at a time without having the most basic opportunity to confront the evidence against them.
As we speak, I'm standing next to Ahmed's wife and 3 children. They're standing on a frigid street in New York City waiting for their father and husband to get out of the Metropolitan Correctional Center. His release should happen at any time. Ahmed had come to the United States on a work visa, saying returning to Egypt would have been dangerous for him. It appears now that it's very likely he will receive asylum to stay in the United States. Bernie, back to you.
Thank you, Gary Tuchman in New York. Judy?
Quite a story. He is just 5 years old, but already he has survived 2 days at sea, and now he is at the center of an international custody dispute. Elian Gonzalez was among 13 Cuban migrants set adrift after their boat sank in the Atlantic Ocean last week. 10 people died, including the boy's mother and stepfather. Elian is staying with relatives in Miami who want him to remain in the U.S. Meanwhile, in Cuba, protesters are calling for the boy's return. So is his father, who is now accusing the relatives of kidnapping.
You can imagine, in addition to my concern, how do you think anyone would feel? It was very upsetting. How could my wife be capable of such a thing when it wasn't necessary? The boy lived well here. He had everything he needed here. Between the two of us, his mother and his father provided for his needs. How do you think I feel?
U.S. officials say the boy can legally stay in this country.
Coming up on WorldView, retailers report a bold beginning to the holiday shopping season.
the global energy business. We're much leaner, more agile, and a lot more innovative than the other cats. And that's why to a fast cat, anything is possible. Think big, move fast, Conoco.
Until now, there has been a wall between you and the tools of serious trading. That wall is coming down. The information and technology professionals use to trade is now available to everyone. Daytech Online. The rules are changing.
The U.S. Postal Service, with new automated systems from Lockheed Martin, is speeding the delivery of billions of pieces of mail. And the occasional birthday present from Uncle Will. Interestingly, Lockheed Martin is also building America's next generation of fighter planes. Which means we not only help deliver the present, but the future. Imagine the most majestic landscapes, and then imagine completing them. Presenting the Fairmont Collection, grand hotels inspired by the grandeur of their surroundings. The Fairmont Collection, extraordinary hotels in extraordinary places.
People everywhere have abandoned traditional commerce and turned to the one company that knows more about e-commerce than any other, Harbinger. We've helped 40,000 companies and 85% of the Fortune 500 connect with customers and suppliers reliably and securely. And with Harbinger.net, our e-commerce center, companies conduct global business-to-business transactions in real time on the net. Harbinger. We make e-commerce work.
Fight for human rights.
I'm hungry for love.
This is not just another emergency.
Is there something that we can find, that we can determine, that will enable people to live peacefully?
The prospects actually for peace are probably better than ever. There's a kind of zone of peace that's grown up at the end of the century that, I think is very promising.
I would hope that we would be able to have world peace, but we can't have world peace until we can have peace with each other. The more we try to concentrate on just being nice, good to each other, then I think it'll spread.
It's not enough with laws and institutions. We need to rooten the peace within every human being, within every heart.
I think it's going to be peace if we, the rich people of the Western world, know how to share more with the have-nots of this world.
As we move into the new millennium now, let us leave our conflict-ridden past behind us and let us build a new future which will be based on respect for diversity, respect for difference, and accommodation of difference are central to peace in the world. And let that be our future.
This Voices of the Millennium is presented by Lincoln, American Luxury.
The luxurious SUV that shook up America is now the most powerful luxury SUV on the planet. So when we say Lincoln Navigator is the best way to take luxury anywhere, we mean anywhere. Lincoln Navigator.
Still ahead on WorldView, a vibrant U.S. economy makes cash registers ring this holiday shopping season.
Looking for an attractive place for your money to reside? American Century's Ultra Fund has attracted more than 1 million investors, becoming one of the most popular funds in the country. Not surprising, considering its proven track record of solid results. Need some help moving? Call 1-888-ACI-FUNDS or your investment professional.
Now there's 2 new ways to save all night long. Sprint Nickel Nights just got better, and you get to choose which way is best for you. Now, when you switch to Sprint Nickel Nights, you can choose to include that great 5 cents a minute rate on your calling card calls. Or you can choose that 5 cents a minute rate on calls to anywhere in Canada from home. Call 1-877-4-NIGHTS now and switch to Sprint. You'll get Sprint Nickel Nights plus your choice of either calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. It's Sprint's best rate at the time that's best for you. And now you can include calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. So no matter where you are, at home or with your calling card, you're free to talk the night away. Isn't that the point of contact? Switch to Sprint Nickel Nights and include your choice of calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. Call 1-877-4-NIGHTS now.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Bell Atlantic, your guide through the wiles of communications.
Tonight in the crossfire, a Cuban boy rescued at sea, now an anti-Castro symbol. Should he be returned to Cuba? Tonight, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
'Twas the days before Christmas, and all through Opryland. The lights are spectacular, the decorations are grand. It's Opryland's Country Christmas, presented by AT&T, the most fun-filled event that could ever be. Santa is here to make your wishes come true, plus our own Jeannie Seeley, and a crafts fair too. The shows are exciting, the food is scrumptious, and that rascal Ray Stevens is so rambunctious. Opryland's Country Christmas. Come see, come hear. Come and make memories to last all year.
Make it a Christmas to remember at Smith & Rogers, Middle Tennessee's premier place for flowers for over 10 years. As you and your loved ones prepare for the holiday season, what better way to show you care than with an arrangement prepared by our trained professional designers? You'll find the perfect idea for all occasions. Visit any of our 2 convenient locations for holiday decorations. Smith & Rogers, 701 Craighead and 2 Mile Parkway in the Rivergate area. We help create Christmas memories that last a lifetime.
Join Emmy Award-winning Larry King, live only on CNN.
Here in the United States, the holiday shopping season opened this Thanksgiving weekend. Early sales receipts suggest that consumers are willing to spend big at the stores and online. Correspondent Deborah Fayrick looks at the numbers.
For every browser, there was a buyer.
We'll take these.
Taking advantage of bargains, spending less on more as sales clerks raced to keep up with demand.
Retailers had very lean inventory levels at the end of the third quarter, which should lead to more full-price sales, higher margins, good earnings.
One indicator of the weekend intake, check purchases from coast to coast up 6.4% from last year. If that momentum continues, analysts say this year's holiday sales could peak at $184 billion compared to $173 billion last year. Giving malls a run for their money, internet shopping. According to BizRate, there were more than 2 million orders placed online the day after Thanksgiving, a dramatic jump from last year.
I think we'll probably see about a 100% increase from last year.
One analyst says this is the year to watch online buying because as many as 20 million holiday shoppers may click their gifts, generating up to $9 billion. And it's not over yet.
Post-Thanksgiving sales are a drop in the bucket, making up less than 10% of holiday shopping. The biggest buying time, the 2 weeks before Christmas.
While many people browsed, mapping out their gift-giving strategy this weekend, the average family will spend between $800 and $900 on holiday gifts, with men spending more than women.
The reason men typically spend less time to shop, more impulse shopping, and they buy the first thing typically. They're not as much browsers as they are buyers.
Meaning it can all be returned after the holidays. Deborah Fayrick, CNN, New York.
We'll see the annual watch. Thanks for joining us on WorldView. I'm Judy Woodruff.
And I'm Bernard Shaw. The Moneyline News Hour is next.
Tonight, protesters